also alternative hypothesis. So, first of all, HO is always presumed to be true. Meanwhile, H1 has the burden of proof. Next, equality is always part of HO, but non-equality are always part of H1. Number three, the result of the null hypothesis indicates no change in opinion, while the result of the alternative hypothesis causes a change in opinion. Lastly, the null hypothesis is accepted if the p-value is greater than the alpha value, while alternative hypothesis is accepted if the p-value is less than the alpha value. So for the next question, what is the difference between one-tailed test and also two-tailed test? So first of all, one-tailed test will only have one critical region, meanwhile two-tailed test will have two critical regions. Next, one-tailed test can show evidence if variation is better than the control, whereas two-tailed test can show evidence that the control and variation are different. Next, one-tailed test checks the relation between the variable in a single direction, meanwhile two-tailed test checks the relation between the variables in any direction. Lastly, the entire level of significance is either in the left or right for one-tailed test, whereas two-tailed test split the level of significance into. So next, question number 1C, what is the meaning of p-value? So p-value is a probability of observing a sample value as extreme as or more extreme than the value observed given the null hypothesis is true. So next question is question 1D. So first of all, as we read the question, we identify that there is no standard deviation given. So we decided to do the distribution. So in the question, the given mu is 6.6 and n is equal to 7 according to the sample. So first of all, if we want to do a t-distribution, we need to calculate x bar and also the s for the question. So we have calculated and we got x bar equals to 7.56 and s equal to 1.18. So for step 1, we need to identify the HO and also H1 for the question. So we got H1 is equal to mu is not equal to 6.6 and HO is mu equal to 6.6. So step number 2 is identify the level of significance as given in the question is 0.05. And step 3, we calculate the T and then we will get 2.15. Step number 4 is we reject HO if calculated the computed T is more than 2.447 or T is less than 2.447. Why we got 2.447 is we get from the T table. Okay, so as shown in the slide, we have draw the lines, and then for step 5, which is the conclusion, 2.15 fall outside the rejection area, so HO is not rejected. And lastly, we can conclude that there is no difference in average weights at birth. So that's all.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Daniel Abdul Hakim bin Sudin. My metric number is 300805. I'll be explaining about the question 2 for the assignment. So the first question from question 2, which is A, list 5 steps to perform hypothesis testing. So the first step is state null and alternate hypothesis. Number 2, select a level of significance, which usually will be given in question. Number 3, identify the test statistics. Number 4, formulate the decision rule. And number 5, make a decision about the null hypothesis based on sample information and interpret the results of the test. That is 5 steps to perform hypothesis testing. For the answer for the question 2B, first we list down n equals to 100, mu 90, x bar 94. Our standard deviation is 22 and significance level 0.1. So the first step, we need to state the null and alternate hypothesis. So our H1 is mu bigger than 90. So we will write our HO mu less than or equal to 90. So the step 2, significance level, which is 0.1 stated in the question. And step 3, we use the Z distribution as the statistic test because we got the standard deviation from the question. So for the fourth step, reject HO if Z computed bigger than 1.28. How do we get 1.28? We will read this number from the table. So we have draw the bell shape and we mark the rejection area. So we use the Z formula, which is x bar minus mu over standard deviation divide by square root of n. So we will get the answer 1.82. So step 5, since 1.82 fall in the rejection area, thus we will reject our HO. So we can conclude that there is an increase in sailing time. So for the question 2C, our step 1 will be stated the hypothesis. So our mu F, which is for the fast food, must be bigger than mu restaurant R. So our HO, HF less than or equal mu R. So the second step is we state the significance level, which is 0.1 from the question. For the step 3, we use the pool standard deviation in formula T as we can see here. And then we list down the information for the fast food and restaurant. We have N equal to 6, X bar 142.5, our S standard deviation 12.24, And then for the restaurant, n equal to 7, x bar 130.24, and our s 15.74. For degree of freedom, for this part, we take 7 plus 6 minus with 2 equals to 11. So for the fourth step, okay, we reach HO if computed T is bigger than 1.363. How do we get 1.363? We get from the table. So we have draw the bell shape here, and then we use pull the sample standard deviation as to P here. We get the answer 204.09. And then for the T, we use pull standard deviation in the formula. So for the T, we get 1.536, which is fall inside of the rejection area. So HO is rejected. So we can conclude here that mean salary for fast food are greater or larger than mean salary for restaurant industry. And then question want to know what is the p value. So p value, we have information this is 1 till our degree of freedom is 11, our t is 1.536. So how do we calculate it? We just take the number 0.1 until 0.05. So our p value is between 0.05 up to 0.10. I think that is for our question number 2. Thank you.
A very good morning to Prof. Dr. Mukris. My name is Darshan Jiva. My matrix number is 299166. So from the question 3A, we can see that the question is dependent samples. The samples are paired or related in some fashion. So we are using the dependent samples. So let's start with step 1. State the null and alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis is mu d is equal to 0. Alternate hypothesis is mu d is not equal to 0. Step 2 is state the level of significance. The level of significance is 0.05. Step 3, using the t-test. Step 4 is state the decision rule. We will reject the HO if computed T is more than critical T or computed T is less than negative critical T. So by using the formula to find out the critical value of n minus 1, so our n is 7 minus with 1, we will derive the answer as 6. Our significance level is 0.05. To find out the critical value, we will be using the student T distribution with a 2-till test. So the critical value is 2.447. Let's draw the 2-till test distribution. For the 2-till test distribution, our critical value in the left side and the right side will be left side is negative 2.447, right side is 2.447. Step 5, compute the value of T and make a decision. So I have done with a box that consists of customer, pre-training, post-training, D bar, and D bar squared. So to find out the D, so we will minus post-training minus with pre-training, we will find out the D for each and every customer. To find out the D minus with D bar squared, so we need to use another formula of D bar is equals to total of D over N. So our total of D is equals to 14 over 7. 7 is computed from samples, so is equals to 2. So to find out the D minus D bar in a bracket squared, so we'll be using answer from D minus with D bar. D bar we are finding the answers as 2, so and squared. So we will find out each and every customer's D minus D bar squared. So our total or sum for the D is equals to 14 and D minus D bar in a bracket of squared, we are finding the answer as or sum is equals to 26. So let's move on to find out SD. SD we will be using a new formula also, total of in a bracket D minus D bar in a bracket of squared over N minus 1. So let's plug in the answers in the formula. So 26 over 7 minus 1 square root. So we will get the answer as 2.0817. So let's find out the T. T we will be using a formula also by using the T is equals to D bar over SD over in the square root of N. T is equals to 2 over 2.0817 over square root of 7. We will derive the answer as 2.542. The conclusion is T is equals to 2.542 is false inside the rejection area. HO is rejected. The training was not effective in improving customer relationship. So that's the answer for question 3. Alright, let's move on to question 3B. Question 3B, we do have partial ANOVA table. So question A have asked us about the how many treatments are there. To find out the treatments, let's derive the degree of freedoms. 11 minus with 2, we will get an answer of 9 for the degree of freedom for error. To find out the source of variation error, we will times with 20 times 9. The sum square of error is 180. To find out source of variation treatment, let's minus, which means 500 minus with 180. Our treatment will be 320. Question B asked us about the total sample size by using the formula of n plus 1. 11 plus 1 is equals to 12. So the critical value of F is 4.26. How we get the 4.26? By using the numerator as 2 and denominator as 9, using the F distribution with significance level of 0.05. So our critical value is 4.26. For question D, write out the null and alternate hypothesis. For the null hypothesis is mu W is equals to mu N is equals to mu Z, and alternate hypothesis is the means are not all equal. Let's move on to question E. What is your conclusion regarding the null hypothesis? For the conclusion for the null hypothesis is the computed F value is 8. 8 falls inside the rejection region. The HO is rejected. So that's the answer for question 3B. Alright, let's start with question 3C. Jacob Lee is a frequent traveler between Los Angeles and San Diego. For the past months, he wrote down the flight times in minutes on 3 different airlines. Alright, from here we know that we are using or comparing 2 or more population, so we will be using the ANOVA table. Let's start with step 1. State the null and alternate hypothesis. For the null hypothesis, we will use mu G is equals to mu J is equals to mu C. For the alternate hypothesis, we will be using the means are not all equal. Step 2, state the level of significance of 0.05. The significance level is 0.05. Step 3 is find the appropriate test statistics. We will be using the F statistics. Step 4 is state the decision rule. So the decision rule is reject HO if computed F is more than critical F. Level of significance is 0.05. So the degree of freedom of numerator is K minus 1. So that's the formula. So for the K is 3 and minus with 1. So we will derive the answer as 2. Degree of freedom denominator is N minus K. So that's the formula. So N is 35 minus with K. K is 3. So we will derive the answer as 32. So to find the critical value, we will be using the table as F distribution table of significant level of 0.05. So but we didn't find the denominator as 32. So we will use the nearest value after the 32. The numerator is 2. So the denominator will be using the 40. So the answer is 3.23. The critical value that we derive is 3.23. Let's comparing the means of 2 or more population. For the ghost, the total X is 707. For the N, for the ghost is 14. Mean is 50.5. Jet rate, total X is 729. And N is equals to 40. Mean is 52.071. Cloud time, total X is 390. N is equals to 7. Mean is equals to 55.714. The total of X is 1826. The total of N is equals to 35. The mean total is 52.171. Let's find the X grant. So to find the X grant, we will divide the total X over N. So which means 1826 over 35. So we will derive the answer as 52.171. Let's move on by computing the SS total and SSE. To find the SS total, we'll be using the formula as X minus with X grant in the bracket of square. So for the ghost, we do find the answer as 298.591, jet rate as 191.067, cloud trend is 307.313, the total is 796.971. So that is the SS total. So next compute the SSE. X minus with X bar C in the bracket of square. So for the ghost, we do find 259.5, jet rate is 190.929, cloud trend, we do find 219.429, total is 669.858. That is the SSE. Let's derive the computing the SSE table. So let's find out the sum of squares. The total we already find as 796.971. The errors is 669.858, and the treatment, to find the treatment, let's minus total minus with error. So we will find out the treatment. 796.971 minus with 669.858. We do find answer as 127.113. To find the degree of freedom, let's plus it together as treatment true plus with errors 32. We do find the total as 34. To find the mean squares, we need to divide the SST over K minus 1. We do find the answer as 63.5565, and the errors mean squares is 20.933. To find the F value, let's divide the MST divide with MSE. We do find the answer as 3.04. The computed F is 3.04 and the critical value of F is 3.23. So the conclusion is 3.04 is computed F is not falls inside the rejection area. HO is not rejected. We can conclude that there is no difference in the mean flight times among the 3 airlines. So that's the answer for question 3C. Thank you so much.